Welcome back to another episode here on the Brick Abbey, continuing our Harry Potter mosaic, and we are working on Slytherin, and we're not doing this section here. I'm going to actually do that off camera. I don't think that's going to be that enjoyable to watch, but we have been building, and we are now down here to the bottom corner piece, and it's been coming together really, really well. Now this one is going to be quite an experience, just tons of gray in the corner. This one should go fairly quickly, and we do know that the 3 is this one, and then we are going to need our black, okay, and then we will also need our little 2s there. All right, so let's get started. And this one has surprised me. I didn't know when we started this project that I would be doing sets quite like this, because I'm going to be totally honest, I didn't know sets like this existed until I started doing this, because I went to the store and saw all these different Lego sets, and the first mosaic that I saw was Batman, and I thought, wow, like that is so cool that you can make a picture. It kind of, it honestly makes sense, It's like you got Legos, and if you look at Minecraft and you look at some of the artwork, that people have come out with, it's impressive, what people can do. And so it just never really even registered in my brain. I remember when I was playing Fortnite, I grew up as a huge Nerf gun fan. We would have Nerf wars in our living room, and I remember telling people, I think I even tweeted at Hasbro and Fortnite, I was like, why are you guys not working together? Like, the guns in Fortnite look like Nerf guns, like most popular game in the world at the time, and an incredibly popular toy line. And about a year later, there they were. I was walking through a Target, and I said, it's a shame that there was no way for me to get any kind of a, royalty from that. I probably wasn't the only person to think that, but man, what a match made in heaven. And then similar with Legos, certain toys that you grow up with, it kind of fall out of the frame, right? Nerf guns fell out of the frame for me. Legos fell out of the frame. You grow up, and I was sort of not clued in to all the things that Lego had been doing, because I really like pulling from that side. It's more because I'm left-handed, So I've been kind of like not clued in. So I remember when we went to the Lego store, it was so eye-opening. I was like, oh my word. I told my wife, I said, you got to get me out of here. I could spend a fortune in here seeing all of the things that I grew up with. Suddenly, you've got this massive, massive pull. Okay, so AB... Oh, you leave it blank. There's like a Harry Potter. I just looked down there and saw that. I was like, what on earth is that? Yeah. So, these mosaics were not something even in my radar. I actually didn't see them at the Lego store. I saw the Batman one in a Target. I thought, oh, that's awesome, And so maybe we'll do one of those one day. Maybe I'll grab one of the Batman ones. Everything we've been doing on the channel so far has been gifted to the channel through the Amazon wish list, except for Yoda. Yoda was a present from my kiddos for my birthday. And it was either my birthday or Christmas. I can't remember now. My birthday is a month before Christmas, so sometimes the gifts can bleed sort of into each other. I think it was Christmas now that I think about it. They were so sweet. They were so excited. Like, they were the ones that picked it out. It was really cute. But we've got some great sets on the way that I'm really excited about doing. somebody named Alex was incredibly generous and sent the original Nintendo with the TV, if you've not seen that. And I'm looking forward to that one so much. And then I hope to maybe snag the Atari one so we can kind of have both. I'd love to have them like in the background scene of my studio once they're done. That'll be really, really nice. So this one has grown on me. As far as doing the other houses, I was going to kind of wait and see. This series isn't doing particularly well, but I don't think that's the best way to determine whether or not we do a set. I think we should do sets if I'm enjoying them and if we feel like the content is good. Because the hope would be that this little hobby channel turns into something, a lot more successful than it currently is, and then there can be kind of that backlog of just really, really good content. Because, ideally the channel would get to a great spot and we'd be able to, really, really ride the wave of like a new set or something, and actually spend some money, right? Because right now we're just working through things and sets that are kind of already out there in the wild, and just creating what we feel like is content we can be proud of, because my producer puts the vids together and the intro and the outro, and he does the thumbnails. I think the thumbnails are fantastic. So that's kind of our thought process right now, is even if we know deep down a particular set or a particular build isn't gonna perform all that well, that can't be the determining factor in how we approach this, because we're just sort of creating that backlog of content. And the hope would be, somebody's watching this right now, years after I recorded it, and is appreciative that we took the time to build out all of these sets and just create really laid back, pleasant, enjoyable content to listen to. That's kind of the goal with the Brick Abbey. That's why we named it what we did. We wanted it to feel, some of the names I was entertaining, we were just kind of wanting it to have like a very chill and relaxing atmosphere. We wanted the name to kind of communicate that. I don't say chill vibe or chill and relaxing vibe. That stuff gets so overused. As terms, they get so overused. So I went with atmosphere. That sounds nicer, doesn't it? But that's the hope. I've had a lot of people say this has kind of become a ritual thing that they like enjoy at the end of their day. It's a way for them to wind down, just sort of listening and watching the sets come together. And I appreciate that. I think that's really cool. I don't think I had a concept for how the content was going to be when I started making it. I just sort of did it. I was like, I think this is how it should be. It should just be the Legos on a table and me just kind of talking as I build the set, just kind of hanging out. We had somebody leave a comment that said, hey, you should consider, I'm going to do something. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to do these two blacks, and then I'm going to slide that out of the way. They were like, you should live stream this. This would make such great live streaming content. And obviously, the amount of work that it would take to do that, it wouldn't be much different than what I'm doing right now. I'd set it up. I'd have to have another monitor of some kind, or because my chat monitor right now is just completely unviewable. And it would be a very different vibe, because instead of me just sort of building and talking, I would, be seeing people say things. There'd be people that would obviously have things they would like, to say while we're building or whatever. So I don't know, there's no, I'm not going to shoot it down and say no, but this channel would have to be in a very different place with respect to, size and success. If I was to dedicate that amount of time, because that could be really, really fun. Get the channel monetized, get memberships. I could even do, some vids with my kiddos. Videos with my kiddos. They're just dying to do a video with me. Like, when are we going to do that? My son asked me. He's like, when am I going to do a video with you when it's just my hands? Because I told him, you wouldn't be on camera. And I said, oh, buddy, that's a ways away. I figured we would maybe celebrate, monetization on the channel, like 1,000 subscribers, with some videos with them. And that could be fun, if we have members and people supporting the channel financially, we could give those people some behind the scenes stuff, outtakes or whatever with my kids. Yeah, because I'm sure there will be some funny moments. My kids are they're hysterical. They're too funny for their own good. Sometimes I have a hard time scolding them because they know they can get me laughing. They can get me smirking about something. My son was doing it the other night. I was like trying to kind of get him to calm down and get in line for bed. I was like, all right, dude. And he knows he can make a couple of faces and act in a certain way, and he can get me laughing. He is funny. He's naturally very funny, which is, it's just such a blessing to be around naturally funny people. But it's very, very dangerous for children because they love the affirmation of laughter is such a unique and it's a unique and intoxicating experience to make people laugh. I know comedians probably really resonate with that idea. And I remember as a class clown, that was something that was really, really just hugely influential in my behavior, in my my approach to friendships. So humor can be incredibly deadly if you're not careful, because it can really trap a person into feeling the need, or maybe even they become dependent upon like that laughter, that humor, that joviality. And my son can get stuck in that rut. He's 7, and he really can. He can get stuck in that rut of wanting to just make people laugh and not really being himself. He sort of gets into like a lane. It's like he puts on a goofy voice, and sometimes he can have a hard time snapping out of it. And so we've been very cognizant of that. My wife was not that way as a child, and I was. So I obviously am a little more maybe aware and on guard for it. I think she obviously gets annoyed because she's like, come on, like I gotta deal with these guys all day, and I'm at the table and I think it's funny, and she's like, okay, that's the 9th time they've made that joke today. It's not funny anymore. Which is its own version of humor, its own version of funniness. Oh, that one went down. We'll get that one later. So let's slide this up in. There we go. And they got a little spot down there for our Harry Potter logo. All right, let's do this. Let's do this middle one here. Let's do this middle one. Okay, I'm going to shift these guys back around. We are going to need some 2s, but let's get in here. Let's get it done. This one's coming together really nicely. It really, really is. And it's going to be 6 of these 3s. Oops, I skipped one. There we go. I'm getting faster, too, at just being able to kind of feel the stud. And I know, like, just holding it in my hand, I can tell if it's ready or not, like it needs to be flipped. It's really interesting, that experience of being able to, like, see something without looking at it. You just kind of touch it, which I'm sure That'd be an interesting study. I've never looked into the study of Braille and how it came about. Being able to, see with your fingertips, obviously, is a huge help to the blind, the blind community, being able to read and consume materials, even though they can't see with their eyes. So, obviously, I'm holding a Lego. It's very simple, right? It's just a little stud, and I can just tell by touching it if it's the right side up. And they're touching like these tiny little micro bumps on a page, and I've seen people read with their fingers like that, and it's fascinating. It's so fast, especially when they're very experienced at it. When I was in high school, they had a typewriter for a blind student, and they would use it during study hall, and it was so obnoxiously loud. I felt kind of bad for them because they probably already felt to an incredibly deep degree in a way that I could not possibly understand. I could slightly understand what it's like to be sort of on the outside of a group. I was picked on. I was kind of a loser, but not to the degree of what it must be like to kind of be in a public school system as a blind student. But the thing was so obnoxiously loud. It was like somebody might as well have been in the room using an abrasively loud nail gun. It was like ka-thrum, ka-thrum, ka-thrum. It was like, oh my word, how's anybody supposed to get anything done, like focus or think? It was brain rattling. I felt so bad for them. It's like they're just trying to get their work done, and it's just drawing an obscene amount of more attention to them. Like, could you not invent one that isn't that loud? Like, I never really looked into it. I just remember being, I'm a teenager, right? So I'm not being empathetic and thoughtful. I'm like, this is so annoying, But it's like, I never looked at why. Was there a mechanical reason? Was there an actual functional reason that it needed to be that loud? It was bad. The worst part about study hall was they would set it up to where you weren't supposed to have 2 in a row, but my senior year I ended up with 2 in a row. And as a senior, you could skip your last class of the day if it was a study hall. And obviously, sitting in a study hall while I waited for another study hall, and then that second study hall enabling me to go home, it was torture. And we stole a pass book from the art room, and we would write ourselves a pass to the video editing room every day, and we would just leave, me and my buddy, and he would have to go back for his last class, so we would get like Wendy's on the way home. His name was Joe. We would get Wendy's on the way home, and then we'd go watch kung fu movies at my house. He would always have a new kung fu movie to show me, and then he'd go back to school, and my mom didn't think anything of it. She just thought, oh, they don't have to be there because it's study hall or whatever. We got, with like 2 weeks left, I think, of school that year, we got caught. And the principal was like, why didn't you just come and talk to me? He's like, I would have given you a special permission, And I was like, I didn't know. I'm a kid. And to be quite honest, it's fun to break the rules. It's fun to be a rebel. We were getting away with something, leaving school and blowing off, like, let's get out of here. It was fun. Like that kid says, that kid that got caught, what was he, like driving a car or something? It's fun to do bad things. Just brutal honesty of a child. It's fun to do bad things. really is. I remember I was listening to somebody he was talking about how a rule rules will provoke a response. You want to break the rule. He was walking into school one day and there was a sign, don't step on the grass. And he thought, well, now I want to step on the grass. I never thought about stepping on the grass before, but now I want to. That interesting relationship where kids need those boundaries and those rules and the structure. It makes them feel safe and secure, but they can also be counterproductive at some level if you're not careful. Too many rules, can make things worse. I just thought it was funny. Well, now I want to step on the grass. Just the brutal honesty. I love it. I do. Okay, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down is when we seem to start using the 2s. And then the 7th down will resolve it. We're doing more of the snake's body here, as far as I can tell. And I really do think I might want to do more of these mosaic sets. I don't know. We'll see. At first I was not enjoying it because it was difficult for me to do the stream of consciousness sort of talking. But I think I got into a better headspace with it. And now I can just sort of go while giving you guys that sort of just whatever comes into my head conversation thing going. Apparently speaking extemporaneously, is that how you pronounce it? Just sort of off the top of your head nonstop. Apparently that's not a common thing. That's so normal to me. It's just second nature. I don't think about it. But apparently it's not normal. It's a very rare thing for somebody to be able to do it, which doesn't make me feel any sense of like ego or pride. I found it to be confusing when I learned that. I thought, can anybody just do that? Just talk? You just go. Just whatever comes into your head, whatever you feel like talking about. Like, obviously, the more educated you are on a subject, the more you can sort of speak at length. Like, if you ever have a really, really good professor, a good lecturer is just such a treat, because sometimes someone can deliver information in a way that, they might as well just shoot you with a tranquilizer dart. You're just like, oh my gosh, I can barely keep my eyes open. Like, sometimes, like, the minute the professor opens their mouth, you feel this sense of fatigue wash over your body. You're like, oh, I'm not going to make it. A lot of that's because they get old, and when people get old, everything slows down, right? Their speech pattern slows down, their ability to think quickly can slow down a little bit. I'm not being ageist, that's just the nature of things, right? You get a little older and everything just kind of slows down a little bit. And buddy, it is hard to sit under a professor like that. It is tough, especially when you want to do a good job. It's like when I was in college, I don't think I ever wanted to do a bad job. There were definitely times where that one's gone. I'll get that one after. There were definitely some classes where I kind of coasted. I had some classes where I did not attempt to do a very good job, but I didn't blow off the lectures or blow off the class. You know what I mean? I would go, I would take my notes, and some days it was nice. I was in a class where we would alternate. Like, I would take notes one day and he would take notes the next, just so you could have a day just to sort of enjoy the lecture and just sit and listen rather than like furiously writing. And then we would just note share, right? which worked out really well. If somebody was sick or missed a day, you just kind of had that agreement. You're like, okay, cool, I'll take notes, And we were obviously fair about it. I wasn't ever feeling like I was taken advantage of or anything like that. But it was nice because sometimes I don't know. I've been listening to these history of philosophy lectures on YouTube. They're fascinating. I love them. I've taken a couple of days off just because it was just getting so heavy in the morning, but it was also just so enjoyable. And a couple of the guys, I could just tell. I'm like, man, what a pleasant lecturer they were. But the thing was, I'm just listening to it on YouTube. I cannot imagine furiously writing and trying to keep up with them. Now, typing obviously changed everything. When I was in college, I didn't have a laptop at first. I would just, take notebooks to class, like old school, Laptops were very expensive. When I first started college, it was in 2002. So the early 2000s, if you wanted to get yourself a laptop, it was a bit of an expensive purchase. Not that it's cheap now, but I do feel like they're not quite as, especially if you're doing it as an expense for school. It doesn't feel as insane now. Well, I was younger then too, and money and paying my way was different than it feels now as a dad and somebody who owns his own business. I just saw recently, because I don't even use the platform anymore, but the LinkedIn platform, like, people will see that it's your anniversary or whatever, and 9 years ago, I'm recording this in February of 2023, and 9 years ago I went into business for myself, which ultimately led to me being able to get into content creation. And that means I'm like a year away from 10 years of working for myself. That is a long time, but I don't think I could do it any other way. I don't work well in corporate environments. I'm too much of a loudmouth, know-it-all hothead. You don't get that vibe from these streams. Oh, look at that. Really coming together. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Down here in the corner, it's a slicing pattern 4 across. Yeah, I was just making sure it looked right. Like up there, the silver band looked a little thin. So what we're going to do for the next video is I'll do this, and then I will pause the recording, and I'm going to put everything together, right? I might even put this all together, and then I'll just have to do this last one when I pause the recording. And then I'll do the outer frame, and that, I'll let you guys see that part. I'll record that, and then we'll be done with this series. So we've made it a very, very long way, and I am very, very pleased with how this one turned out. We've only got one last corner to do. So make sure you're subscribed, smashing the like button, leaving comments. All those things help the channel and these videos do well. Appreciate you guys supporting us so much here at the Brick Abbey. We will see you in the next video.